Inheritance and aggregation are two very different but very important principles of any object-oriented structure. The difference between inheritance and aggregation is best understood through looking with a little common sense at real-life examples. Aggregation is a way of grouping together objects that are not in their nature similar necessarily, but should be grouped together for some entirely separate reason. For instance, a pet shop can contain a lot of animals, but the animals would not inherit from the pet shop because the animals are not a kind of pet shop, whereas panthers are a kind of cat and cats are a kind of animal, so that structure uses inheritance. Let's have a look at the way aggregation of objects can work. We're going to take out these instantiating commands down here, and we're going to create a new class, and this class will be called pet shop, and it's not going to inherit from any of the other classes we've defined at the moment. Now we're going to set up some attributes within the pet shop class, and the first of which is going to be an array which is going to contain all the pets that we add to the pet shop, that we add to instances of the pet shop class, I should say. Then we're going to need a cache variable which is going to store the amount of cache that the pet shop holds at any one time. We're going to make an addPet function. Now this addPet function is actually going to create new instances of the animal that we want to add to our pet shop stock. And we're going to specify the class that we're going to call them from, the price, and the color. So we're going to set up a little variable called nPets, and what that's going to do is it's going to count the number of pets that are contained within the pet shop object array pets. So that's going to see how many pets are already in the pet shop. At the moment, 0, or from the moment that the pet shop is instantiated, it will be 0. And then we want to add a new pet to the pets array. In this case, it will be 0. So the pets array, element 0, which is the first element, that will be the first time this function is called. The next time it'll be 1 and 2 and so on. Then we say new pet class. Now, as we can see, we can create a new instance of an object without even knowing the name of the kind of animal that we want to create. So this will allow us to automate the process of creating the animals. Then we're going to add a price to the animal itself, and we're going to store that price on the animal. So our animal, whatever it ends up being called, will have a new attribute thanks to this function, which is going to be its price tag, maybe hanging around its neck. Then we're going to make a sellPet function, and all we're going to need for this is the pet number, because our pets are going to be stored numerically in an array. The pet shop, of course, will not name the pets. That'll be up to the owners. So our pets are simply known by the number, say the number of the part of the shop that they're sitting in. In the case of our pet shop class, it's going to be the number of the element of the array. Then we're going to have our sellPet function. And what that's going to do is it's going to add to the cache variable the price of the pet. and we're going to have to specify which pet we want. So we're going to use all the way through, as you can see, we're using these operators to specify the attributes of these objects. Then we have to remove from the pets array the element that we've just sold, the pet that we've just sold to the customer. So we're going to use the array splice function, and what this does is it takes as its arguments the array, in this case this pets, and then the element that we want removed, and then the number of elements that we want removed altogether, in this case only one. Then we'll perhaps add a little notice to say that a particular pet has been sold, then we're going to type in the cache. You'll notice that I escaped the $sign, otherwise PHP is going to assume that by putting in a $sign I am trying to define a variable. Then we're going to put a couple of line breaks after that. So we've added facilities to add and sell pets to our pet shop class. Now let's finally have a class that is going to show the stock of pets that are in stock at the moment. And so we're simply just going to put in something to say, in bold it's going to say shop stock, and then a line break we have, and then we're going to count the number of pets. So we're going to count the pets array, which will contain all the pet objects that we've created. Then a couple of line breaks, and then we're going to iterate through the pets and we're going to specify each of the pets that are stored in the pets array, and we're going to say pet number I and then we're going to add the report for the pet. Which we can use by calling the particular element from the pets array, and then we're going to call the report method that we created in the class definition for animal. So each of the pets is going to include that. Then we're going to put at the bottom the price, and we're going to escape the $sign again using the backslash, and then we're going to say that we're going to write down the pet's price once again. And then finally another line break. After that we're going to pop in another line break for the sake of neatness, and then that is going to be our pet shop class. That may look a little complicated, but really all it is adding to the array, the pets array, and creating an object, removing an object from the array, and reporting on the stock of the pet shop. Now, let's call our pet shop shop. Not a very imaginative name, but there we go, new pet shop, and we're going to say shop, make a bit of space there, we're going to say shop add pet, and now we just type in, as we can see, the add pet took 3 arguments, and that was the name of the class, the pet price, and the pet's color. So we're going to say, we're going to have a cat, and that's going to be $20, and it's going to be a tabby cat. Then we're going to add pet Now this one's going to be a snake, 40, and that's going to be a brown snake there. We're also going to add maybe, let's have two snakes, in fact. Let's have a more expensive snake. Let's have a more expensive black snake. And then we're going to try out our show pets function. Let's sell one of our pets after we've shown the pets. Let's sell the first pet, which is the tabby cat, then we're going to show the stock again. Now that's a lot of typing without testing. Not something that I recommend you do. Of course I've tested this script before, which is why I'm doing it, but it's much better practice to test out each little tiny bit of the code as you're typing it. Then if there's any errors, you can see exactly why. Let's pop over to our browser though and take a look at the way our pet shop is working. As we can see, our first function, the show pets function, shows that we have three pets for sale in the shop. The cat was sold, and then there are only the two snakes left as the stock in the pet shop. This is an example of aggregation. The pet shop contains a number of objects within itself that are not related to it by inheritance, and it manipulates those objects by calling its own methods and using them on those objects, and it also calls the methods of those objects themselves. Once again, this is quite a lot to digest in this chapter, so I really recommend that if you're going to use any of these methods, that you try all the examples out for yourself, take a look at the source code included with this chapter, and try to make your own examples of an object-oriented structure of your choice. In our next chapter, we're going to create a sample PHP app.